بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. Only with the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the du'as and barakat of our shaykh, our parents and all the well wishes, we now recommence our brief snippets, voice notes that we used to send out beforehand. The reason for recommencing it is that quite a few people requested that we should again start this particular program, as they benefited tremendously. Today we are going to read from a very, very important principle which Moulana Thanvi has mentioned. And inshallah wa ta'ala, if we listen attentively and we apply our minds to what he says, there's one huge confusion which is to be found almost in every home will be cleared. The confusion of what must we do when there are differences among ulama. So Moulana Thanvi says, it may have crossed the mind of someone that there are differences amongst the ulama. One alim says one thing, while another says something else. It is because of these differences that people have gone astray. This is the question or the objection, that one alim says this, another one says that. And because of this here, there's so much confusion, we are all going astray. Moulana Thanvi says, my answer to this is that if people have gone astray because of differences among the ulama, then the fault is still with the people. Because just as differences are found amongst the ulama, we see differences amongst doctors and physicians. No fraternity is without differences of opinion. If you say that the masses suffered harm because of the differences amongst the ulama, how come they did not suffer harm due to the differences amongst doctors and physicians? What a brilliant answer, mashallah ta'ala. The nafs seeks an escape, and shaitan seeks to demotivate us by bringing this particular argument of there are differences of ulama. There are differences between the ulama, and accordingly we don't just know what to do, we are sick and tired and fed up. And the response which Moulana Thanvi gave is this here, that in other avenues of life, how is it possible that you can find a solution despite there being differences between doctors and physicians? And I give an example, between lawyers. What measure, Moulana Thanvi inquires, what measure did they adopt which saved him from being harmed by the differences which exist between Hakim Abdul Majid and Hakim Abdul Aziz? Now these were two very, very great prominent Hakims in India. One's name was Hakim Abdul Majid and the other one's name was Hakim Abdul Aziz. Some used to go to Hakim Abdul Majid and yet others would go to Hakim Abdul Aziz. There were differences of opinion between the Hakims. But why is it that people did not get harmed? Furthermore, he says, the method of saving oneself from differences. Now this is, I'm sure, something that many of us are hearing the first time. What must we do in order to be saved from the differences between ulama? Moulana says the measures which they adopted is that they made inquiries to ascertain who is more qualified in experience. Once they had ascertained this, once they reached a conclusion, then they held on to him and cast aside the other one. Two Hakims, who is more qualified? The one who is more qualified, they adopted him or they hanged unto him, and the other one, they kept away from him. Brothers, how come you see the need to adopt these measures so that you can enjoy this short life, while you see no need to take similar steps for the enjoyment of that eternal life? Here, in as far as doctors, lawyers, surgeons, etc. are concerned, you adopt the procedure which has been explained, and accordingly you come to a conclusion. Why? You want health. We want the best of medical attention. We want the best of legal brains. And accordingly we make a decision, having hope that we will enjoy good health or peace of mind. Though the health and peace of mind is for this temporarily short stay of ours in this world. Now for that we could apply our discretion and find a solution. But now how come for the eternal life we do not apply the same criteria? If you realize the need for it, why do you not apply this measure, and why do you not save yourselves from the harm of differences? The manner in which you were able to identify and select one physician over many others should be adopted here as well. For example, you probably laid down a prerequisites that a physician must have studied at a reputable place, received a degree from there. Most patients feel better after going to him. He is not greedy. He is affectionate in caring towards his patients. He is an expert in diagnosing ailments and so on. Makes a lot of sense. Depending on how sick we are, Allah forbid, if it's something very severe especially, we are going to look for a doctor or a surgeon, a specialist who must have studied at a reputable institution, university, college, etc. And not only that, he must have received a degree from there. And most patients feel better after going to him. He is not greedy. He is affectionate in caring towards his patients. He is an expert in diagnosing ailments and so forth. You should now resort to the same prerequisites to identify an expert alim. Think about it. There are many ulama around. For a physician, for our physical health, we look at which institution, which university has come from. Similarly, Moulana Thanvi says, for example, the majority of people are guided through him. He is affectionate to those who seek deen. He himself is a dislike for this world. He abstains from sins. He has remained in the company of a saint. The fear of Allah Ta'ala is overwhelming in him. Thus here is a criteria that you, as the layman, have to apply. Again, I repeat what he has said. When you want to hand over your deen, hand over your spiritual progress, your iman. We don't know how to hold on to our iman. We don't have knowledge of iman. We don't know about the things that destroy iman. We don't know about the issues which Rasul mentioned harms the iman. We don't know what increases the iman. So you need the majority of people. The one is the people who are with him. The majority of them are guided through him. He is affectionate to those who seek deen. He himself is a dislike for this world. A alim who is in love with the world, how is he going to guide you towards loving the akhirah? He himself is a dislike for this world. He abstains from sins. An alim who indulges in sins, how is he going to get you to shed sins. He has remained in a company of a saint. If he hasn't remained in a company of a saint for a substantial amount of time, then he still will not be in a position to guide you. The fear of Allah Ta'ala is overwhelming in him. If he has no fear of Allah Ta'ala, you are goner. We are goners. How is he going to inculcate taqwa in us when he himself is absent from this quality? He concludes by saying, if you find an alim who possesses these excellent qualities, you must act on what he says. Whatever he says to you will be based on his fear of Allah Ta'ala, and he will not teach you to do wrong things. Absolutely clear. You have to have an alim and you do what he says. He is not going to say anything to you in order to obtain your wealth, in order to obtain name and prestige. He is not going to say anything in order to become famous and popular. He can't dare think even of issues like money and popularity. Why? The fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has overwhelmed him. It is settled in his heart that this money is just, I am just a custodian of this wealth, somebody else will take it. He will have the fear of Allah Ta'ala. Name and fame means nothing. Why? Ultimately, all that remains is the dust in a qabr. And he will not teach you to do wrong things. At the same time, do not speak ill of other ulama. We speak about such ulama that are on the wrong path and they do not propagate their wrong. We have to qualify this here. As far as the ulama that are propagating and spreading wrong beliefs, it becomes wajib upon the alim to educate the community so that they may be saved from his clutches. This explanation removes the doubt and objection that people went astray because of the differences which exist amongst the ulama. Now there is no scope for anyone who is listening to this clip to even minutely or in any way say, you know what, we don't know what to do. There are differences of opinion amongst the ulama. We are lost. We are confused. That fault lies with you. You never took the time and trouble to ascertain and take precautions and do your utmost to secure your akhirah. We do our utmost to secure our health, but for our akhirah, we want to dilly-dally and we want to procrastinate, and ultimately before we know we're at the door of maut. And when you come to Allah Pak, this argument or this particular issue, we didn't know what to do. There was too much differences between the ulama. This will be chucked out and it will be chucked into our faces. For the dunya, you knew, you made sure that you found somebody to assist you. For my deen, you couldn't find even one person. Khuda Hafiz.